There is a season that every chosen one must walk through. It is not the season of blessing. It is not the season of harvest. It is not the season of celebration. It is the season of hardship. You have been in that season. You have felt the fire. You have felt the loss. You have felt the loneliness. You have felt the confusion. You have asked the question that haunts every soul in the wilderness. God, where are you? God, why is this happening to me? God, did I do something wrong? And in the middle of that hardship, you have watched others prosper. You have watched others succeed. You have watched others celebrate. While you have been burning. But chosen one, I need you to hear something that will change everything. The fire is not your destruction. The fire is your preparation. You are not being destroyed. You are being processed. You are not being abandoned. You are being positioned. You are not being punished. You are being prepared for a harvest so massive that it will leave everyone who doubted you speechless. The hardship you are walking through right now, it is the soil. It is the fertilizer. It is the rain. It is everything that is necessary for the greatest harvest of your life. The Bible says in Psalm 126:5, "Those who sow in tears shall reap with shouts of joy." Chosen one, you have been sowing in tears. You have been planting in pain. You have been watering with your sorrow. And I am here to tell you today, your harvest is coming. Stay with me. This message is for you, and it will change everything. Because what if I told you the pain was never random, the delay was never accidental, the hardship was never proof that God left you? What if the very thing you called suffering was actually preparation? Because before the harvest comes, there is always a season that looks like loss. And that is where chapter 1 begins. The hardship was not a mistake. You have asked the question, we all have. God, why is this happening to me? You asked it in moments nobody saw. You asked it when the room became quiet. You asked it after another disappointment, after another closed door, after another prayer that seemed unanswered, after another season that looked nothing like what you expected. You asked it while watching everyone else move ahead, while watching everyone else announce breakthroughs, while watching everyone else celebrate answered prayers. And somewhere deep inside, a thought started forming. Maybe God skipped me. Maybe I made too many mistakes. Maybe this season is punishment, and you have probably convinced yourself that the hardship is a punishment, that God is angry with you, that you did something wrong, that you are being rejected, that somehow your struggle is evidence that heaven turned away from you. But chosen one, that interpretation has been exhausting you more than the hardship itself, because hardship often whispers lies. It tells you that delay means denial. It tells you that difficulty means abandonment. It tells you that silence means absence. But silence is not always absence, and hardship is not always punishment. But chosen one, I need you to hear the truth. The hardship was never a punishment. It was a prescription. A prescription is not designed to destroy. It is designed to heal. It may not feel comfortable. It may not taste pleasant, but its purpose is restoration. Its purpose is preparation. Its purpose is transformation. God does not waste anything. He does not waste your pain. He does not waste your tears. He does not waste your sleepless nights. He does not waste your confusion. He does not waste your loneliness. He does not waste the seasons when nobody understood you. He does not waste the moments when all you could do was survive. He does not waste the days when your faith was barely enough to keep moving. Nothing is wasted. Every single moment of hardship has been part of the plan. Every single tear has been collected. Every single prayer has been heard. Every single sleepless night has been noticed. And every single one of them has been working for your good. Even the things you wish never happened, even the disappointment, even the betrayal, even the closed doors, even the opportunities that disappeared, even the relationships that ended, even the moments that made you question yourself, even the seasons that made no sense. Nothing escaped God's awareness. The Bible says in Romans 8:28 that all things work together for good. Not some things, not the good things, not the easy things, all things. That means the hardship is working for you. The delay is working for you. The rejection is working for you. The betrayal is working for you. The financial loss is working for you. The waiting is working for you. The hidden season is working for you. The stretching is working for you. But your mind asks, how? How can loss work for good? How can pain work for good? How can betrayal work for good? How can something that broke me become something that blesses me? Because hardship changes you. Hardship does what comfort cannot do. Comfort maintains, hardship reveals, comfort preserves, hardship transforms, hardship strips away the things that don't matter. It reveals the things that do. It breaks the pride that was blocking your blessing. It humbles the arrogance that was repelling your destiny. It exposes false dependencies. It teaches you what remains when everything external disappears. It forces you to discover strength you never knew existed. It teaches patience. It teaches surrender. It teaches discernment. It teaches endurance. And those lessons become part of who you are. There are things abundance cannot teach. There are things ease cannot reveal. There are things only hardship can produce. Because pressure reveals what was hidden. Pressure develops capacity. Pressure strengthens foundations. Pressure prepares containers for greater weight. And when you come out of the hardship, chosen one, you are not the same person who went in. You are upgraded. You are refined. You are purified. You are strengthened. You are expanded. You are carrying wisdom you did not have before. You are carrying discernment you did not have before. You are carrying depth you did not have before. You are ready for the harvest. The hardship was the plowing. The hardship was the breaking up of the fallow ground. The hardship was the preparation of the soil. Because no farmer expects a harvest from untouched ground. Something must be broken before something can grow. Something must be opened before something can be planted. Something must be prepared before something can multiply. And now, after the breaking, after the stretching, after the preparation, something is changing. Because hardship does not only transform the person, it creates the conditions for abundance. And that leads us to a mystery most people never understand. Why does struggle so often come before increase? Why does pressure so often come before multiplication? Why does hardship become the birthplace of abundance? Because hidden inside hardship, there is a secret harvest. And that is where Chapter 2 begins. Chapter 2, The Secret Harvest. Why hardship produces abundance. There is a secret that the world does not understand. A mystery that many people spend their entire lives chasing but never truly discover. Because they believe abundance is created by comfort. They believe increase comes from ease. They believe growth happens where there is no resistance, but chosen one. That is not how deep transformation works. Abundance does not come from ease. Abundance comes from depth. The greatest harvests are rarely born in comfortable seasons. The strongest people are rarely formed in easy seasons. And the deepest faith is rarely developed when everything goes according to plan. The tree that produces the most fruit is not the tree that had the easiest life. It is the tree that had to send its roots deep. It is the tree that had to fight for water. It is the tree that had to survive the drought. It is the tree that learned how to live when conditions said it should die. It is the tree that refused to stop growing when the environment became difficult. Because roots are not built during abundance. Roots are built during scarcity. Roots are built during uncertainty. Roots are built when survival requires going deeper. You see, chosen one, when everything is easy, you grow wide. You grow comfortable. You grow complacent. You grow shallow. Ease can create dependence on conditions. Ease can create the illusion that success is permanent. Ease can convince you that what is visible is all there is. And without realizing it, you begin living from what surrounds you instead of what sustains you. But hardship changes the equation. When hardship comes, when the drought comes, when the fire comes, when the famine comes, surface-level strength stops working. The routines that carried you before stop carrying you. The approval that motivated you stops satisfying you. The distractions stop helping. The external support becomes smaller. And suddenly, you are forced to discover what exists beneath the surface. You have to go deep. You have to reach for something deeper than what you can see. You have to find the underground stream. You have to connect to the source that the world cannot see. And at first, that process feels painful. Because depth requires letting go of shallow things. Depth requires silence. Depth requires trust. Depth requires staying planted when every emotion says run. Depth requires believing before results appear. You begin learning that your peace cannot come from circumstances. Your identity cannot come from outcomes. Your value cannot come from applause. Your strength cannot come from comfort. You begin discovering a source that exists beyond visible conditions. And when you finally do, when you finally break through to that deep place, when you finally connect to the underground source, something changes. You stop depending on seasons. You stop depending on people. You stop depending on visible evidence, because now your roots know where the water is. Now your strength comes from somewhere deeper. Now your confidence is anchored below the surface, and the harvest is not just more than you expected. The harvest is supernatural, because abundance built in hardship lasts longer. Peace developed in hardship runs deeper. Strength developed in hardship carries more weight, and fruit produced from deep roots cannot be shaken easily. The Bible says in Jeremiah 17:7-8, "Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. He will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit." Notice what the scripture does not say. It does not say the heat never came. It does not say drought never arrived. It does not say struggle disappeared. It says the tree remained fruitful anyway. Because the secret was never the absence of difficulty. The secret was connection to the source. Chosen one, I need you to understand something. The drought did not destroy you. The drought defined you. The hardship did not break you. The hardship built you. The fire did not consume you. The fire refined you. What looked like pressure was actually development. What looked like delay was actually root growth. What looked like loss was actually preparation for increase. And now, because you went through the hardship, because you endured the fire, because you survived the drought, because you kept trusting when everything said to give up, because you kept growing underground when nobody saw progress, you are about to produce fruit that multiplies. You are about to harvest abundance that overflows. You are about to experience restoration that outlasts the loss. You are about to become evidence that difficult seasons do not get the final word. This is your moment, chosen one. This is your harvest, and it is more glorious than you can possibly imagine. But there is something else you need to understand. Not every battle was random. Not every resistance was accidental. Because the moment a harvest begins to form, opposition often begins to rise. And sometimes, the intensity of the attack reveals the value of what is growing. What if the pressure was never about where you were, but about what was coming? What if something recognized your future before you did? What if the resistance was connected to the harvest? Because there is a reason the struggle became so intense, and that is where chapter 3 begins. The enemy's strategy. Why he tried to destroy you before the harvest. Have you ever wondered why the hardship felt so intense? Why it felt like everything was coming against you at once? Why it felt like one problem ended and another immediately began? Why it seemed like every area of life was under pressure at the same time? Why it felt like progress attracted resistance? Why it felt personal? Why it felt targeted? Why it felt like every time you started healing, something tried to reopen the wound? Why every time you started moving forward, something tried to pull you back? Chosen one. There are seasons where hardship feels random, but there are also seasons where pressure feels unusually concentrated. And when that happens, people often start asking difficult questions. Why me? What did I do wrong? Why does life feel harder now than before? But sometimes the better question is not, why am I under attack? Sometimes the question is, what is being protected from reaching me? Let me tell you the truth. Chosen one, the enemy attacks the harvest, not the seed. Because a seed hidden in the ground looks insignificant. A seed does not attract attention. A seed looks small, but inside the seed, there is future fruit. There is multiplication. There are generations. There is increase. There is influence. There is impact. There is potential that cannot yet be seen. And opposition often rises when unseen growth begins. He does not attack you when you are nothing. He attacks you when you are about to become everything. He attacks movement. He attacks momentum. He attacks growth. He attacks what carries future increase. That is why some of your hardest seasons came right before moments of transformation, right before new understanding, right before new opportunities, right before new confidence, right before healing, right before growth, right before the next level of your life. He attacked your finances because he saw the wealth coming. He attacked your relationships because he saw the healing coming. He attacked your health because he saw the restoration coming. He attacked your mind because he saw the breakthrough coming. He attacked your confidence because he saw your future influence. He attacked your peace because he saw the stability being built. He attacked your identity because he knew what happens once you stop doubting yourself. The enemy is not afraid of who you are. The enemy is afraid of who you are becoming. Because once you understand who you are, fear loses power, confusion loses power, delay loses power, pressure loses power, and people who discover strength after hardship become difficult to stop. And the intensity of the attack is a testimony. The intensity of the attack proves that something huge is coming, not because hardship automatically means success, but because pressure often reveals importance. Pressure often appears where growth is taking place. Pressure often shows up where transformation is happening. Think about moments in life that create something new. They are rarely comfortable. Growth stretches, change stretches, expansion stretches, birth stretches. Have you ever seen a woman in labor? The pain is intense. The pain is overwhelming. The pain is all-consuming. There are moments where all attention goes to the discomfort. Moments where it feels impossible, moments where exhaustion speaks louder than hope. But the moment the baby is born, everything changes. The meaning of the pain changes. The purpose becomes visible. The process suddenly makes sense. The suffering is remembered differently because something new exists that did not exist before. Chosen one, you are in labor. You are in the final stages. The pressure does not mean failure. The pressure does not mean defeat. The pressure may be revealing transition. The enemy is attacking because the birth is coming. The harvest is coming. The breakthrough is coming. The next version of you is forming. And that is why you cannot quit now. Because people often stop right before the breakthrough. They interpret pressure as proof to retreat. But sometimes pressure is proof to continue. The enemy knows that if he can stop you now, he can stop the harvest. If he can convince you to give up, he never has to fight what you become. If he can convince you to stay buried, he never has to face your growth. If he can convince you that hardship means defeat, he never has to watch your restoration. But chosen one, I have news for the enemy. It is too late. The seed is already planted. The roots are already deep. The growth is already happening. The process is already moving. The harvest is already destined. There is nothing the enemy can do to stop what has already begun inside you. Because growth has already started underground. Transformation has already started. Understanding has already started. Strength has already started. The hardship is almost over. The fire is almost out. The drought is almost done. And when the harvest comes, chosen one, the enemy will be ashamed. His attack will become your testimony. His plan will become your blessing. His weapon will become your promotion. His resistance will become proof that you kept moving. The hardship was not your destruction. The hardship was your exposure. It exposed the enemy's plan. It exposed his tactics. It exposed his strategy. But it also exposed something else. Your endurance, your strength, your capacity, your roots. And now you know. Now you are wiser. Now you see differently. Now you understand that survival was never the final goal. Something deeper was happening all along. Because every attack pushed you lower, every disappointment pushed you deeper, every pressure point forced something beneath the surface to change. And suddenly you realize the ground itself has changed, the soil has changed, you have changed. Because what if brokenness was not empty? What if suffering was not wasted? What if the very places that cracked open became the places where the greatest fruit could grow? That is where chapter 4 begins. The soil of suffering. Why broken ground produces the best fruit. There is something you need to understand about soil. Soil that has never been broken, soil that has never been plowed, soil that has never been disturbed, cannot become what it was created to become. Because untouched ground may look strong, but strength is not the same as readiness. Hardness is not the same as health. Stillness is not the same as growth. Soil that remains untouched may appear stable, but beneath the surface, nothing new can enter. Nothing new can take root. Nothing new can multiply. It cannot receive seed. It is too hard. It is too closed. It is too stubborn. And that is one of the hardest truths to accept. Because most people want harvest without being opened. They want fruit without transformation. They want multiplication without surrender. But seed does not grow on the surface. Seed must enter something. Seed must disappear into something. Seed must connect with something. The seed needs soil that is broken, soil that is open, soil that is soft, soil that can receive. Chosen one, you are the soil. And the hardship was the plow. The loss was the plow. The pain was the plow. The betrayal was the plow. The disappointment was the plow. The delay was the plow. The unanswered questions were the plow. The seasons of waiting were the plow. What looked like destruction was preparation. What looked like breaking was opening. What looked like loss was creating space. Because plowing is not punishment. Plowing is preparation. God had to break you, not to destroy you, but to open you. And surrender is one of the most misunderstood forms of strength. People think surrender means weakness, but surrender is trust. Surrender says, I stop trying to control everything. I stop forcing outcomes. I stop pretending I have all the answers. I become available for something greater. Before the hardship, you were hard. You were closed. You were self-sufficient. You were proud. You were unreceivable. Not because you were bad, not because you were failing, but because comfort can create invisible walls. Success can create independence. Routine can create resistance. Sometimes we become so full of our own plans that there is no room left for growth. And those tears, they were not wasted. They softened places inside you that success never could. They opened places inside you that comfort never touched. They reached places inside you that words could not reach. There are things tears do that achievement cannot do. Tears humble, tears reveal, tears cleanse, tears make room. God could not give you the harvest because you could not receive it. Your heart was too hard. Your pride was too thick. Your self-reliance was too strong. Not because abundance was unavailable, but because preparation was incomplete. Because imagine pouring rain onto stone. The water runs off. Nothing enters, nothing remains, nothing grows. But when soil is broken, water stays, seed enters, roots form, life begins. Now there is softness where resistance once lived. Now there is wisdom where certainty once lived. Now there is humility where pride once stood. Now there is openness where fear once ruled. So God sent the plow. He sent the hardship. He sent the loss. He sent the pain, not to remove your value, but to reveal your capacity, not to empty your future, but to prepare your foundation, not to punish your life, but to expand what your life could hold. And now, chosen one, you are ready. Your heart is soft, your spirit is humble, your hands are open, your soul is fertile, and the seed is about to be planted, not just any seed, divine seed, the seed of restoration, the seed of abundance, the seed of destiny, the seed of multiplication, the seed of wisdom, the seed of peace, the seed of purpose. And because the soil is broken, because the soil is soft, because the soil is open, the seed will not remain on the surface. It will take root, it will multiply, It will grow in places where nothing seemed possible. The harvest will not merely arrive. It will emerge. The harvest will be meaningful. The harvest will be lasting. The harvest will reflect everything that was formed beneath the surface. Isaiah 61:3 says, God will give you beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Notice the exchange. Ashes become beauty. Mourning becomes joy. Heaviness becomes praise. That means suffering is not presented as the final chapter. It becomes material for transformation. Chosen one. The ashes are not the end. The ashes are the beginning. The hardship was not the end. The hardship was the plowing. And now the harvest is here. The beauty is coming. The joy is coming. The praise is coming. Receive it, chosen one. Receive the growth. Receive the change. Receive the new season. Receive what the process prepared you to carry. Because you stayed, you endured, you learned, you grew. And now something important must happen. Because harvest is not only received, harvest is also stewarded. Growth follows patterns. Transformation leaves clues. There is a path from hardship to abundance. There are stages, there are decisions, there are movements that turn broken ground into overflowing fields. And if you understand those steps, you will never see your suffering the same way again. That is where chapter 5 begins. The 7 steps. From hardship to harvest. The journey from hardship to harvest is not random. It is not luck. It is not coincidence. It is not chance. It is not something reserved for a special few. It is a process, and every process has movement. Every harvest has stages. Every transformation leaves footprints. There are things that happen beneath the surface before abundance appears above the surface. There are moments where nothing seems to change, while everything is changing. And many people quit because they do not understand the process. They think if they cannot see growth, growth is not happening. They think if results are delayed, progress has stopped. But harvest does not begin when fruit appears. Harvest begins long before anyone can see it. Chosen one, you are not lost. You are moving, you are becoming, you are transitioning, and there are 7 steps you must take to move from where you are to where God is taking you. Step 1. Survive. Visual. A person in the middle of a storm. They are holding on. They are not letting go. The first step is survival. Before flourishing, there must be endurance. Before multiplication, there must be preservation. Before growth, there must be continuation. You must survive the hardship. You must refuse to give up. You must refuse to quit. You must refuse to stop believing. You must refuse to let temporary pain convince you that your story is over. Because survival is not weakness. Survival is courage. Survival is saying, I do not understand this season, but I will remain. I do not see the outcome, but I will continue. The enemy wants you defeated. He wants you exhausted. He wants you to mistake delay for defeat. He wants you to surrender before breakthrough arrives. But you must say, I will not die, I will live, and I will declare the works of the Lord, because surviving is winning when quitting seemed easier. Step 2. Surrender. The second step is surrender. This is where many people struggle, because surrender feels like losing control. But surrender is not giving up. Surrender is trusting what you cannot control. You cannot control the harvest. You cannot force the harvest. You cannot manufacture the harvest. You cannot rush the season. You cannot pull fruit from a tree before its time. You must surrender to God's timing. You must surrender to God's plan. You must surrender to God's process. And surrender sounds like this. Not my will, but yours be done. I surrender my timeline. I surrender my expectations. I surrender my need to understand everything. I surrender my control, because sometimes peace begins where control ends. Step 3. Sacrifice. The third step is sacrifice. Every harvest requires a seed, and every seed requires release. Every increase costs something, not always money. Sometimes comfort, sometimes pride, sometimes old identity, sometimes fear, sometimes the need to stay where things feel familiar. You must give something to receive something. You must release something to receive something. What are you holding on to that is blocking your harvest? What are you gripping that is stopping growth? What old season are you trying to protect? Let it go. Sacrifice it. Plant it. Because seed kept in your hand stays a seed. Seed released into the ground becomes a harvest. Step 4. Serve. The fourth step is service. Harvest is connected to contribution. Growth multiplies when it flows outward. You cannot reap a harvest that you have not sown into others. You must serve. You must bless. You must give. Serve when nobody notices. Serve when recognition is absent. Serve because generosity trains the heart to live in abundance. When you serve others, you stop living from scarcity. You begin believing there's enough to give. And that mindset changes everything. When you serve others, you plant seeds, and the harvest returns, multiplied, overflowing, unexpected. Step 5. Shout. The fifth step is praise. You must praise your way through the hardship. You must shout your way through the drought. You must worship your way through the fire, not because hardship is enjoyable, but because praise changes perspective. Praise reminds you that your season is not your identity. Praise reminds you that struggle is not permanent. The Bible says in Psalm 35, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." The hardship is the night, but morning is moving toward you. And when morning arrives, the joy will not ask permission, it will overflow. Step 6. Still, the sixth step is stillness. After surviving, after surrendering, after sacrificing, after serving, after praising, there comes a moment to stop striving. You must stop wrestling. You must stop forcing. You must stop trying to manufacture outcomes. Be still. Be still. And know that He is God. He is working. He is moving. He is arranging. He is aligning. He is preparing. There are things happening in silence that cannot happen in panic. Stillness creates awareness. Stillness restores perspective. Stillness teaches trust. And while you are still, work continues beneath the surface. Step 7. Step. The seventh step is stepping forward, because there comes a moment when preparation becomes movement, a moment when faith becomes action, a moment when waiting becomes walking. You must move, you must answer, you must step. The harvest is not in the past. The harvest is not behind you. The harvest is in front of you. And you must step into it. Say it. I am stepping into my harvest. I am stepping into my abundance. I am stepping into my destiny. I am stepping into everything God has promised me. You have survived. You have surrendered. You have sacrificed. You have served. You have shouted. You have been still. And now, chosen one, step into your harvest. But before you move forward, there is one final thing you must understand. Many people imagine harvest incorrectly. They think harvest only means money, only success, only visible victory. But overflow is deeper than that. Overflow changes identity. Overflow changes peace. Overflow changes relationships. Overflow changes how you see life. Overflow is not just receiving more. It is becoming able to carry more. So the question is not, will the harvest come? The question is, what does true harvest actually look like? And that is where chapter 6 begins. The promise of overflow. What the harvest actually looks like. You have been praying for restoration. You have been believing for breakthrough. You have been waiting for the harvest. You have been enduring the process. You have been surviving the hardship. You have been planting in tears. You have been holding on to hope while everything around you looked uncertain. But let me ask you something. Chosen one. Do you actually know what the harvest looks like? Because many people pray for harvest without understanding what they are asking for. They imagine one moment, one breakthrough, one visible change. But true harvest is bigger than a moment. Harvest changes environments. Harvest changes identity. Harvest changes what feels possible. Chosen one, I want to show you what is coming. I want to paint a picture of your future, not to escape reality, but to remind you that hardship is not the whole story. Because if you only imagine survival, you will stop expecting overflow. And this next season is not only about surviving. The harvest looks like abundance. Not just enough, not just barely making it, not just getting through another day, not just carrying constant pressure, not just surviving. The harvest is overflow. The harvest is more than enough. The harvest is provision that reaches beyond your current imagination. The harvest is discovering capacity you did not know you had. Overflow means you no longer live from fear. Overflow means scarcity stops making decisions for you. Overflow means your life becomes a place of renewal instead of exhaustion. But overflow is deeper than numbers, because abundance is not simply having more. Abundance is becoming whole. It is waking up and not feeling empty. It is carrying peace into situations that once overwhelmed you. It is living without the constant feeling that everything could collapse. And yes, harvest may include provision, new opportunities, unexpected openings, relief where there was pressure, doors where there were walls, resources where there was lack. Your debts will be paid, your needs will be met, your desires will be fulfilled, your dreams will come true. But even more than that, you will stop defining yourself by lack. You will stop expecting disappointment. You will stop shrinking your expectations because of old seasons. And you will not just have enough for yourself. You will have enough to give. You will have enough to bless. You will have enough to change lives. You will become the kind of person who pours into others because you are no longer running on empty. The harvest looks like healing. Not just physical healing, not only external change, but deep restoration. The places inside you that became tired, restored. The places inside you that became afraid, restored. The places inside you that became guarded, restored. The sickness is gone, the pain is gone, the exhaustion is gone, the anxiety is gone, the constant survival mode begins to loosen, the heaviness lifts, the pressure becomes lighter. You discover what it feels like to breathe again. Your health is restored, your body is strengthened, your mind is renewed, your spirit is alive. You stop waking up expecting battle, you stop carrying fear into every decision. You begin living with confidence instead of caution. The harvest looks like restoration of relationships because hardship often isolates. Pain creates distance, disappointment creates walls, but restoration reconnects. The broken marriage is healed. The estranged child has returned, the severed friendship is restored, the family is reunited, and even where specific relationships do not return, you become able to trust again, able to connect again, able to love again. The enemy stole connection, but restoration rebuilds, not always exactly as before, but with greater wisdom, greater health, greater depth, restored, healed, stronger than before. The harvest looks like purpose. This may be one of the greatest forms of abundance because there is a unique peace that comes when life begins making sense. You will know why you were created. You will know why you were born. You will know why you survived the hardship. You will begin recognizing that difficult seasons formed capacities you now carry. Moments that once felt meaningless begin connecting. Lessons become useful. Pain becomes wisdom. Delay becomes preparation. Your purpose becomes clearer. Your direction becomes steadier. Your calling becomes harder to ignore. The harvest looks like peace, not temporary relief, not perfect circumstances. Peace, the kind that remains during uncertainty, the kind that stays when life changes, the kind that allows rest. The sleepless nights are over. The constant worry becomes quieter. Fear loses authority. Anxiety no longer leads. You will sleep in peace. You will wake in joy. You will walk in confidence. You will live with expectation. Because harvest is not just receiving. Harvest is becoming stronger, becoming softer, becoming wiser, becoming more grounded, becoming able to carry what once would have crushed you. This is the harvest, chosen one. This is what is coming. This is what you have been waiting for. This is what the process was preparing you for, and it is yours. But there is one final thing. Because overflow is not the ending. Overflow creates something. Restoration creates something. Breakthrough creates something. A story, a witness, a testimony. Because one day, you will stand where you once cried. You will remember who you used to be. You will remember the nights nobody saw. You will remember the seasons where giving up felt easier. And people will ask, how did you survive? How did you make it? What changed? And your answer will change everything. That is where chapter 7 begins. The testimony that will change everything. Beloved child of God, this is the final chapter. But for you, it is the first chapter of something new. Because endings are strange. Sometimes they do not feel like endings. Sometimes they feel quiet. Sometimes they feel ordinary. Sometimes they arrive without announcement. And sometimes, what feels like the end of one season is actually the doorway into another. This message may be ending, but your story is not. Your journey is not. Your becoming is not. Because after everything you have walked through, you are not arriving at an ending. You are arriving at a beginning. You have walked through the hardship. You have survived the fire. You have endured the drought. You have trusted in the darkness. You have hoped in the silence. You have believed when everything said to give up. You continued when progress felt invisible. You remained when answers felt delayed. You stood when it would have been easier to leave. And maybe there were moments when you thought nobody noticed. Moments when survival itself felt like victory. Moments when simply getting through the day required everything you had. Moments when your faith looked less like confidence and more like taking one more step. But those moments mattered. Those moments counted. Those moments were building something, and now you have a testimony. Not just a story, not just an experience, not just a memory, a testimony. Because a testimony is not simply about what happened to you. A testimony is what happened in you. A testimony is not only, I made it. A testimony is, I became someone different. Your circumstances changed, but so did your heart. Your environment shifted, but so did your perspective. Your life moved, but so did your understanding. You went from ashes to abundance. You went from pain to purpose. You went from loss to legacy. You went from hardship to harvest. You became softer, wiser, stronger, deeper, more compassionate, more grounded, more aware of what truly matters. And that transformation cannot be taken away, because what was built inside you during hardship stays with you in abundance. And now, your testimony is going to change lives, not because your life became perfect, not because every question disappeared, but because people will see what endurance produced. Your story is going to give someone permission to keep going. Your journey is going to remind someone they are not finished. Your growth is going to become evidence that difficult seasons do not have final authority. Because when people see what God did for you, when they see how restoration changed you, when they see how peace returned, when they see how strength returned, when they see how hope returned, when they see how life returned, they will begin believing again. They will say, if healing happened there, maybe healing can happen here. If growth happened there, maybe growth can happen here. If restoration happened there, maybe restoration is possible for me too. Your life becomes an invitation. Your journey becomes a witness. Your story becomes a bridge. Chosen one, this is your moment. This is your harvest. This is your testimony. Not because every dream arrives overnight, not because struggle never returns, but because now you know something you did not know before. You know hardship is not always destruction. You know delay is not always denial. You know pressure is not always punishment. You know growth often happens underground, and that knowledge changes everything, and it starts today, right now, in this moment, not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because your perspective has changed. And perspective changes possibilities. Speak it over your life. Say it out loud. My hardship is not wasted. My harvest is unfolding. I am being restored. I am growing. I am walking into abundance. I am walking into purpose. I am walking into destiny. I am walking into everything I was prepared to carry. Psalm 126:6 says, "He who goes out weeping carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with him. Beloved child of God, you sowed in tears, but you will reap in joy. You planted in pain, but you will harvest in abundance. You walked through the fire, but you came out refined. You endured the drought, but you discovered the underground stream. Your hardship was not a mistake. Your hardship was preparation. Your hardship was positioning. Your hardship was the plow. And now the seed is planted. The roots are deep. The growth is happening, and the harvest is coming. Not just a little harvest, not just a small harvest, not just a manageable harvest, but a harvest of wisdom, a harvest of peace, a harvest of purpose, a harvest of restored hope, a harvest of renewed vision, a harvest that reaches beyond what you expected. This is your testimony, chosen one. This is your harvest. This is your destiny. And it begins now. If this message spoke to your spirit, I want you to do something right now. In the comments, type one word, harvest. Type it as a declaration. Type it as a reminder. Type it as a prayer. Type it as a symbol that you are still standing. And subscribe to this channel, because your journey is not ending here. This is not the finish line. This is the beginning of what comes next. Thank you for watching, chosen one. And if this message encouraged you, share it with someone who is walking through hardship right now, because someone out there needs to hear this. The fire is not the end. The drought is not the end. The breaking is not the end. There is still growth underground. There is still hope ahead, and harvest seasons still come. Until next time, keep growing, keep believing, keep walking, and remember, from ashes comes abundance.